Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this segment of the Value for Her Talk Corner. Today, we have a very, very interesting lineup of very profound women who have engaged in regional and international trade in different ways, and we are going to hear from them. My name is Sabdi Odido. I'm the head of gender and inclusiveness at AGRA. And thank you so much again for choosing to spend your time with us. Value for Her is AGRA's flagship on women entrepreneurship in agriculture. So generally we deal with women companies, women agri-food companies from across the continent. They are all together on a platform. And if you are not there already, please go to the chat and click on the link that Marjorie is going to share shortly and join this community of women entrepreneurs across Africa. The Talk Corner segment is essentially to spotlight women that have made breakthroughs in different ways. And the Talk Corner today, it will be hosted by Judy Matu. Judy Matu is a very good friend of Value for Her, and she's a champion on women entrepreneurship in agriculture. And she's going to lead us through this talk corner, and she will be taking on a fascinating lineup of women who are leading companies, not only in one country, but across countries, so across region, basically, companies that are trading, that are producing new products and accessing the high-end markets that we talk about, an interest that we have, of course, more and more women to join and to benefit from. We are talking regional and international trade today. And trade is really one very complex theme for women. And it's generally complex anyway for small entrepreneurs to penetrate trade channels because trade is very formal. Of course, there is the informal part of it, which is large on the continent. Right now, women and mostly young people are mostly within those informal channels of trade. But trade is something that is very formal. It's done across borders. It is regulated. There are rules and procedures. And because of the supply side challenges that women experience, the skill level, the literacy level, the resource level, it's always a challenge for women to really penetrate and to understand, to acquire the resources and penetrate these formal channels of trade. And this is what we are going to hear from the women that actually have done it and those that are facilitating it. And we are very, very happy to be joined today by Seinabu Dieng. She's trading in West Africa. She's going to share her story. We have Kafilat Ambibola Ayeni. She's trading in West Africa as well, Nigeria side. And of course, we have Gloria, who is the director for gender inclusion at Trademark Africa. And she sits right in the middle of where all these activities, trade activities are happening. She will tell us a lot from the regulatory perspective, from the trade facilitation perspective, and generally the challenges that women face going through these borders and accessing the opportunities that lie on the other side. And of course, Judy will be taking us. So at this moment, I don't want to take up a lot of their time. The idea is really to spotlight these women who are engaged in trade, either through active trading or through facilitation, and we will hear from them. So let me hand back to the moderator for the discussion today. Judy Matu, over to you. And thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you so much, the head of gender and inclusiveness, AGRA, that is Madam Sabdi Odido. It is really an honor. And I want to start by salutations. Good evening good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to this enlightening discussion. And as Sabdio has clearly indicated, that this will not just be an enlightening moment, but it will be a time to even get to know who are these people heading this industry, and not just people, but women who are actually making a mark within the regional and international trade, within the agri sector. So thank you so much, and I want to welcome everybody on board. Feel free to ask your questions. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A. That is where you're going to send all your questions that you have for the panelists. And then the chat box is where we would want to know who is joining us, where are you joining us, and what do you do? In other words, do your introduction so that we can get to know who is on board. Once again, very, very much welcome to everybody. So today, we are honored to have amazing women who have really done it and will share their stories. And I want to introduce them. First, I will make an introduction, and then we'll get to the panel session where each one will have a moment of about 7 minutes just to tell us within the first question and within the first section of the questions. So with us, we have the amazing Sainabou. Sainabou Dieng is a social entrepreneur living between Mali and Senegal. Born in Mali, but living in, born in Senegal and living in Mali. And she founded Maya, a food processing company using raw materials from local agriculture and integrating small producers into its value chain. And apart from that, Sainabou is committed to the cause of women and believes access to market could contribute to reduce the estimated, listen to this, $42 billion financing gap for African women across business value chains, including 15.6 billion in agriculture alone. Interestingly, 80% of her staff are women, and applaud to you, madam. And she's also a laureate of Catch Your Women Initiative for Sub-Saharan Africa. That was in 2021. And she's also a Mandela Washington Fellowship Fellow. That is the first speaker of the day. And then we will go to Kafilat Abimbola, an amazing woman. She is the founder of Binkaf Palace, Nigeria. She's a seasoned expert in the field of agro-processing, manufacturing, and packaging. She is a marketer by education and single-handedly developed recipes for all Binkaf products. She's a renowned mentor and has personally mentored over 100 women in the industry. She engages in voluntary training of upcoming female entrepreneurs in production, processing, and packaging. And then we have the amazing Gloria Atuheire. Gloria is the Director, Gender and Inclusion and Women in Trade at Trademark Africa. She comes with rich experience, having done a lot and engaging women directly and ensuring that what they're doing within the regional and international markets is represented. She also has a banking experience at senior management level and at the United Nations Development Program. You can see, and you have heard for yourselves, that we are set on an amazing 1-hour session where we are going to listen to these very amazing ladies. So introducing the first speaker, who will be Sainabou Dieng. Ladies and gentlemen, Sainabou, please take your 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Judy, for this nice introduction. It's for me a real honor and a pleasure to join this session with AGRA. I've been discussing and working with AGRA's platform for the past 3 years, and it's a very good experience, and it's very helpful for us female entrepreneurs to have a partner like AGRA. So thank you very much for all AGRA team for organizing these sessions. So as Judy mentioned, I'm Seynabou. I won't go back to the presentation because she did it perfectly well. Just maybe to give you an overview of what we are doing currently. So our food processing company is actually growing. We are distributing in 3 different countries, so Mali, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. I'm currently talking to you from our Dakar office in Senegal. So we have 2 offices, one in Bamako for the processing and another one in Senegal for the distribution. So we have a team of 21 people, among which 13 people are permanent people in the company. So focus is on distribution for the past 2 years. We basically work with the commercial distribution channels, the supermarkets in Senegal and in Mali, and we have more than 100 points of sales currently. What I can add to this discussion regarding the opportunities that we are not being used currently in West Africa for trade opportunities, let's say, I would say maybe digitalization is one of them. A lot of our customers reach out to us through social media from all around the world. They are willing to buy products from us, but we don't know yet how to ship 1 or 2 packs of products, because usually the price to shipping the products to these countries can be 10 times the price of the product itself. So digitalization is a very great trade opportunity that can increase the resilience and the revenues of producers like us and others in Africa. But the firms like us don't have today the level of skills and digital preparedness, let's say, to help them embrace this great opportunity, which is digitalization. Also, maybe the logistics side also need to be fulfilled because we had the time to check how much it would cost, and the cost is just not good enough for us to take this opportunity. The other segment that we have investigated in the past 2 years is the one of public orders with governments, with big organizations also, and also with big companies like mining companies, like the UN contingencies in our countries. So those are very big markets, big opportunities that the small companies could use to increase their revenue by partnering with them. I think with strong policy and strong advocacy, we can use this opportunity to contract with those companies throughout their social and corporate responsibility actions. Today, it will be very interesting for us to have maybe a system or a partner like AGRA that could connect us to those big companies and also do the follow-up. In Mali, for example, the government has this kind of policy favoring the sales between smallholders and small businesses with the government. But usually when the tender goes out, it is difficult for us to meet the quantity requirements. So that we need a backup on the financial side to be able to respond to the order in terms of quantity and also in terms of quality. The third channel that usually we have been, let's say, discussing is the franchising model. So we have been in business for the past 6 years, and we have been able to open 2 offices, so one in Dakar, another one in Bamako, and more partners are asking us to start a franchising model with them because it will overcome all the logistics part. For example, I lately have been contacted by a company based in Congo Republic. who wants to distribute our products. So when we did the due diligence for the logistics, it was just not interesting. However, because we are able to develop small scale processing, we started very small, so we know how to build a small process and less costly process to develop our products. And because we have all we need in terms of packaging, in terms of process, in terms of staff training to do this thing, I think franchising is something that we really want to explore as a future opportunity to drive trade and revenue for us. We need, of course, to make sure that the relationship is built in a very professional manner. We need support on the legal side to make sure that it's very well legally binded, that the contractual relationship is good. And also we need, again, the financial part to make sure that we both, on the both sides, we are strong enough to support this franchising and to do the follow-up. So those are the three opportunities that I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sainabu. You are right on time. You're very timely. However, I have a very small just follow-up question. You have mentioned the challenges, especially around the area of logistics, and also the challenge on how to ship to some of the countries. I would just like a quick one. Maybe you can take half a minute just to let me know if the Africa Continental Free Trade Area has been doing anything to make your, some of these challenges easier. Do they have any policies or regulations that are looking at what women are experiencing at that point? Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, I think the AFTC Day is a very great opportunity for us. We haven't been directly involved in some of their programs, but I know that in Senegal, for example, they are working with the government to build some trade, let's say, to make sure that the female entrepreneurs have the right trainings and programs to be able to export. So I heard of a program like that, a preparedness program for women entrepreneurs to be able to sell to other countries. And also on the other side, there is something which is done in our country to harmonize the legal part and the requirement part. For example, if I want to have the authorization to distribute in Senegal, in Mali, etc. So they are looking for a way to harmonize it. So instead of having 3 or 4 different authorizations, it will just be one authorization for the region. And I think it's great, and it will reduce the cost of those authorizations and also the time of the bureaucracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sainabu, for that excellent presentation and quite timely. And once again, congratulations, you're doing an amazing work. You are a captain of that industry, especially in the West Africa region. And we are looking forward to seeing you even in the East Africa region. And I believe that some of the ideas that will be shared here will also help us see how we can really have that interconnection to make trade for the women easier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Absolutely.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard for yourself what women are doing. Amazing. Having to trade between Mali, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. Isn't that amazing? And now we go to our second presenter. She said if I can't pronounce her name, if I can't remember, I say Abimbola, but I think I'll try. Kafilat Abimbola Ayeni. You are most welcome, Lady of the Minute. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from Nigeria. Good afternoon from other part of Africa, and good morning from everywhere you're watching us. I want to say a very big thank you to Agra for giving me this opportunity, Value for her for giving me this opportunity to participate in this amazing program, and a very insightful one at that. I sincerely want to say thank you for that. You did very well in the introduction, so let me just stick to what Zainabu said by not reintroducing myself, but I will just lay emphasis on what we do at BIMCAF. BIMCAF Palace Nigeria Limited is an agro-food processing company. We don't just actually mentor others, we actually also hold most of our entrepreneurs through the process of production, necessary certifications, and also help them while we are also getting our own clients outside the country. That's what we've been doing with our entrepreneurs. At BIMCAF, we also have quite a number of female staff. Majority of our staff are female. We do very well with, I think about 80% of our staff are female, and so far so good, we've been doing well. From the question you've asked me, you told me, from what I understood, basically I will just discuss what we've experienced in exports. It's not easy to actually say you want to export within African continent or you want to take it offshore. But BIMCAF Palace, what did we do differently that makes us to be able to sell our product within the African continent and offshore? We try as much as possible to leverage in the benefits we're getting from our own our own federal government, which is from Nigerian Export Promotion Council. First of all, we leverage on the certifications they gave us to be able to export out of the country. They've been able to give us standard certification to sell our products in other African countries and also across the globe. Our facility is certified by ISO, we have FDA, we have Halal certification, we have the HACCP certification. All these we got from our own government, which has placed us as a company in a better place. Generally, if you want to export, you don't have some certain certification, you won't be able to move your product anywhere. It will deter the way you sell your product because it will affect the progress of your business. But this certification has moved us and has given us opportunity to sell across globe. Another certification we got while trying to pitch into what AFTA has for Africa is the African Trade Liberation Scheme. It's not a certification, but is a scheme that gives you an opportunity to sell across all ECOWAS countries, free from certain taxation, which I guess has really helped us in the growth of our sales. We've been able to use this trade liberation scheme to sell in some African countries. I won't say it's easy as it's been said, but following some little due process has been able to give us edge in some markets. I told you yesterday when we were discussing that I was going to bring in some of the advantage entrepreneurs needs to key in to be able to give them the opportunity to sell across globe, not just their country, is to focus more on how they package their products. Because one of the things that sells your product when you're not there is how you package your products. And the first thing you need to look at is how many people understand what is written in your package. So you need to put in consideration the countries you intend to capture. For us at BIMCAF, if you look at our label, we have English, Arabic, and French. And because we know that if some people can't read English, they can read in Arabic. And we know that we have a lot of Francophone countries that we want to also key into and sell our products. And that's what we did in our packaging. And it has really helped us, giving us leverage to be able to sell in some certain countries. And this, I would really want our African entrepreneurs to consider packaging their products in a certain way that can put their products in the shelf where they don't even need to be there on their own. Because what speaks for you behind you is your product. And where you don't have to use your mouth to verbally explain the quality of your product, the quality of what you're offering people is your packaging. So by the time you're able to define what everything you have in your product on the packaging, it will take your business from whatever level you are now to a better place, and it will allow you sell and be able to progress your sales. Why am I laying emphasis on packaging? Is because it is one of the things African product generally suffers from. And most of the time we shy away from it because we feel our product we sell. Now, this is us saying we want to sell across board. We want to sell all over the world. When you get necessary certification for your businesses, when you get everything it takes to sell your product, but if you don't have the proper packaging for your product, it will definitely affect the way your product is being looked at. So I advise that when you want to consider export, you want to consider selling your product, what should come to your mind, your consideration first should be how your product is being packaged, because it helps you sell your product on its own. I'll give you an example. I was somewhere in Dublin last year. Yes, I was in Dublin last year, and I went for business summit with Nigerian government. And I realized that even their water has a story behind it. Anything you buy tells, in short, by the time you hold it, there's a story behind it, there's a definition to it, there's a reason why you should pick that particular brand against any other thing you want to buy. And this is going to help products to sell well. So why not key into a kind of a proper packaging for your products that can help you sell your products seamlessly without you being there? That is number one. Number two, another thing we need to look at in Africa is how well can I put my product, how well can I put pricing on?
Sorry to interrupt you, you have 1 minute.
No problem. How well can you set your pricing without you having issues? Zainabu mentioned logistics. You need to start being calculative in how you export your product out of your shelves. You need to start being calculative, because without that, it's going to affect your price and you may not be competitive. So you must consider how you get your raw material, how you process it, then the mood or method at which you want to move your product from your locality to the next country must be critically considered, so that your pricing will be perfect for the market you want to put it, and you won't be underpriced or overpriced, so you could sell well. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a story. I had the opportunity and the privilege to be a reviewer or a judge during the first cohort of the Wire Awards. And I love how you have emphasized about packaging, because one thing I noted and was very keen was that every applicant from West Africa, and especially Nigeria, their packaging was amazing, because we had to do the research. You had to go into every applicant and see just how they do it. And you could see the produce is well packaged. And in fact, that was the question that I was to follow up with, but now we are out of time, but you have really explained it so well. And I think I will throw this to Agra, value for her, Sabdio and Marjorie, that what Abimbola has explained, and the emphasis on packaging, because that is what sells you. That's the first impression of your produce or your product. We have challenges in different countries in Africa where packaging has not really been emphasized, and that could be hindering so many women from accessing the right markets, going to supermarkets. You heard when Zainabu said they have more than 100 points of sale. Imagine that. And also what you're talking about, Abimbola, and the extent into which your produce is going. So congratulations, that was very insightful, that was very informative, and I hope everybody is taking notes. Now, I must say that you're most welcome. I had questions for Kafilat and Zainabu, but I preferred, because these are people who are in the business, who are doing it, to just speak from their mind. And I think they have just captured everything so perfectly. Now, for our next speaker, I will pose a question for her, because this one comes at a place where she is addressing some of the issues that were raised. And this is Gloria Atuheirwe, the Director, Gender Inclusion and Women in Trade at Trademark Africa. So allow me to ask the question to you. And the question is, from your work, championing gender equality and social inclusion at Trademark Africa, please help us understand innovative strategies that can be used to address the gender-based constraints that women agripreneurs face in accessing regional and international agri-food markets. Also, you can tell us about the opportunities that are women-led and what we can explore. What are the opportunities that women can explore? Please feel free to answer it in your way, the way that you feel very comfortable doing. Most welcome, Gloria.
Okay, thank you very much, Judy, and good afternoon from Nairobi. My name is Gloria Tuheire from Trademark Africa, who were previously East Africa, but we have recently rebranded because our work has scaled up across the region. So really delighted to be part of this discussion this afternoon. A lot to be said, but I'll just talk about maybe 2 or 3 things. One is that in terms of opportunity, as we all know, we now currently have the AFCFTA in place. But even under that framework, we already have regional economic communities across different parts of the continent. I am in East Africa, part of the East African community, and a lot of what Trademark has done has been in the EAC space. And so that itself is already a huge opportunity, that even within our regions, there's opportunities to do more and more trade, especially for women. And I work with a lot of women who are informal in nature, so they don't do a lot of high value trade, but it's high volume. So there are a lot of women in this space. The issue is how well can we facilitate that process? If you look at the data, Judy, we are hardly trading with each other. Yes, the East Africa trade is between 14–17%. Trade between Africa as a continent is about 21%. So we're really not doing a lot of trade with each other, but we are doing trade. We're importing a lot of stuff from China, from India. So it means within Africa, there's a lot of opportunity to grow this business. In the informal sector that I've mentioned earlier, 70% of these players are women. So a lot of that, especially in the food trade, because most of them do agriculture, it's women actually doing this business. If you go to a typical market in Africa, you will find women in those markets selling food. So what we have to do is to grow the value of what they're doing, to give them access to explore new markets. So I think the RECs in itself, the communities are providing that space because they try to make it easier for one country to trade with another, easier for people to move from one part of the continent to another. And that's part of a lot of what Trademark does. But one of the barriers that we acknowledge, and I think the 2 speakers before me have mentioned, that is information. Because if you do not know where the markets are, if you do not know what you're required to do if you're crossing a border, if you do not know the trade procedures that are necessary in a particular economic community, say in East Africa, then you'll be constrained in terms of how much opportunity you can take up. So a lot of what we do in Trademark is focused around availing information to the people who require it, simplifying information, whether it's through direct interface, but more recently, even through digital platforms, so that from the comfort of your home or from your shop, you can find out what's going on in the market. So Trademark has a platform called Isoko, but there are many other solutions. Even Value for Hire is one of them. So I see the big opportunity for women here is to embrace technology. We have to embrace technology. We cannot run away from technology. And technology is one way, in a way it touches on all the other issues that we're talking about: logistics, trade procedures, market access. Tech is really at the center of those challenges, and also providing an opportunity. So we are providing capacity building and digital literacy to enable women to take advantage, because I think 9 out of 10 women in Africa really do own a phone. Not all of them own a smartphone, but there are solutions both for people who have smartphone technology and those who don't have smartphone technology. There are opportunities to access information, and a lot of what we do is building on that. The second issue is around compliance. I think, again, one of the speakers mentioned that. You have to understand what the market requires. Food trade is very sensitive. There are issues of safety and all that. So you have to be aware of the standards that are required across the border. And a lot of what we do is, again, around information and sensitizing, but also working with the governments. Because I'll give you an example. Previously, trying to get some of this testing or checking of your commodities would take you almost 2 or 3 days. Now, in the bureaus of standards in some of these countries, you can get some of these tests done within 2 hours. So that time saving it's both saving time and but also money. So Trademark has invested a lot with working with government agencies, the bureaus of standards, the Revenue Authority, to make the processes simpler, to make it easier for you to get an export permit, to get it easier for you to get your goods tested and checked and cleared to cross the border, make it easier for you to get a rule of origin document, because you need that if you're trading within the region. So a lot of investments have gone into trade agencies and just making their processes simpler and easier. But on the other side, we also have to ensure that the private sector and traders are aware. So a lot of information sharing, a lot of sensitization, that these opportunities are there. It doesn't take you a week to be able to get a document that requires you to move a commodity. And so you can actually get some of these things online. And that is part of just making trade facilitation easier. In terms of the women themselves, of course, we invested a lot in building that value. We still believe in the old model of cooperatives, just bulking and bringing our value together, because trading small values will never grow. One of the big things for women is to come together. You can call it whatever you call it. It can be a cooperative, it can be a network, it can be a platform, but it's a way in which you aggregate, you negotiate better, you can reach bigger markets. And we're seeing more and more of our women being able to advance because of that, because of doing collective bargaining. Even someone talked about logistics, even being able to procure a logistics service collectively will be cheaper than you trying to get a truck to move from a commodity across any of our borders. So a lot of what we're doing is hinged around, oh, sorry, someone is asking about French. Oh, I hope there's someone who can help with that. So a lot of the collective aggregating, bulking, bringing together commodities and being able to access a higher value market is a lot of the opportunity that I see in East Africa, but also in Africa as a whole. Judy? If I still have time, I can go on.
Thank you so much. No, unfortunately, you don't have more time, but something that has really caught my attention, and I'll be very brief because we are, in fact, I don't know, there's question and answer. Let me just go through for those who are joined later after we had already started. So the Q&A option is for any questions that you may have. Kindly just restrict the chat box to only introductions so that we are able to follow through. So thank you so much, Gloria. That was quite informative. And especially the fact that you're trying to ease trade for women. My quick question would be first on how has and now that you have talked about the informal trade for women, which is 70%, how has been the uptake on technology and how are they leveraging that? And then I want to talk about, just to ask something that could be also in the minds of many, this is women we are talking about. And when we talk about cross-border trade, and these are women, what are the social challenges, apart from systemic, what could be the social challenges that women face? Please, in half a minute, if you can.
Brilliant question. Technology, I mean, we're seeing a reform. As I said, ownership, there's no challenge, there's no issue about ownership. 99% own a phone. Smartphone, basic technology, we own phones. Now, in terms of how we use those phones is the challenge. We found, I think a certain study done by ITC, or was it IFC, found that 40% of women don't use their phones to make more money. So they're using it for social, for calls and stuff. So we have to change that. We have to use this technology to translate into value from trade. So that's an ongoing process, culture change and all that. In terms of the social dimensions, very good question. The gender role comes into play big time. The care responsibilities affect women more than ever. And with COVID, that even got worse. We did a recent study as Trademark, and we found that women are using 30% time that they could use in trade because of care responsibilities. Now, we can't go away from that. What we can try and find is a solution that saves time. Time-saving technologies, labor-saving technologies will change the way women participate in trade. And I go back to the digital point. Digital is one of those things. So you don't have to leave your home and cross 30 kilometers, 500 kilometers to find a market. You can use your phone. Once you build those networks, then the trade happens. So we're trying to provide care infrastructure in markets. So you can come with a young child to the market, you can have a place to raise your child, feed your child, and keep trading. But for those who don't necessarily have to use a market infrastructure, technology will be the solution. But the care responsibility is big, and we really can't run away from that. But it does directly have an impact on how women participate. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And you have written something very interesting about time poverty. I was able to look at it though briefly, and I would encourage everybody to look at her work on women and time poverty, because the care agenda is actually a real thing that needs to be attended to, especially at continental level. So we have really spent quite some time on that. Now we have a few questions, although I see some of them have been answered. And I'll go very quickly to the questions that have been raised. So the first one was answered, I think, by Sainabu. It's addressed to Maya Enterprise. Sainabu will get to that and address, I think she has. The other one is from Esther Abila. What are the general requirements for trading within the African region, especially on organic oil seeds? Also, if you're able to address a question to a specific speaker, that would be nice. But I think I'll address that. I'll direct that to Gloria. The other one is from Marvelous. Which opportunities for women are there for those who are starting in agro-processing? I see a blockage. When a proposal, say how much you have made in the past year, is there really a chance for a woman starting from scratch in Africa? That's a very good question. So I will request if Sainabul and Abimbola could address that also. They will type their answers there because we don't have time for them to take questions one by one. And then we have one by Irene Maweu, a question to Gloria. Have you provided the technology skills to the women to leverage on the use of their phones for trade? So thank you so much for your questions. I will not have them addressed here, but they will be typed to you on the chat, and everybody can also see the answers as they're typed by the speakers. Thank you very much. So we go to the very quickly second session, the second set of questions. And this is, I will ask the questions. Then I will have one, the first one to Gloria. So Gloria, you are back. How can trade policies in Africa be reformed to better support women's participation in agri-food trade and address the gender disparities that currently exist in the sector? Gloria, you are back. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Judy. And I think this speaks to one of the questions that had been asked earlier. So one is border infrastructure. What does the border infrastructure look like in East Africa? What one of the things Trademark is doing, sorry, I forgot to put my video, is is to build borders, to make it easier. We call them one-stop border posts. It's just making it clearance and movement faster. But also, in addition to that border infrastructure, you have to have harmonized systems. So a lot of investments have gone into customs and just aligning that the systems speak to each other so that you don't have a lot of delays at the border. We do recognize that a lot of what we do in agriculture is perishable. So if you lose 2 hours or 5 hours at the border, you can actually easily lose your product. So that's part of what the reforms are doing, making it faster to cross borders. And a lot has changed over the years, but of course, a lot more work needs to be done. The second one speaks back to compliance. there are requirements, standards, phytosanitary standards, especially in food trade. We have to trade in safe commodities. One of the biggest challenges we have in East Africa with maize, which is one of the biggest commodities traded, is the issue of aflatoxin, poisonous coming from handling and processing of maize. You have to raise awareness amongst people who are doing this, both at production and trade, but also to provide the infrastructure in terms of how do they test, how do they check that this product is fit for the market. And that's why I talked about working with trade support agencies like the Bureaus of Standards is critical. Most of them are in capital cities. What needs to be done is the decentralization. So this service is available closer to the people, because if you have to travel from wherever you are to the capital city, 200 kilometers away, that cost is on the trader. But we are advocating for governments to decentralize those services so it's easier for you, because standards is critical. You have to comply, otherwise your goods will be rejected and you cannot. Another thing we're trying to address is non-tariff barriers. These ones are vast and I can't exhaust that conversation here, but there's a continuous discussion between governments to say how can one government enable their neighbors or the other governments to trade easier without creating barriers. We've seen a lot of wars in East Africa where people say today maize can't enter, tomorrow milk cannot enter, tomorrow don't bring your eggs. So we are seeing a lot of those trade wars, and a lot of these can be resolved really through this mechanism. So there's a non-tariff barrier mechanism in place to try again resolve those issues and then make it easier for trade to flow in East Africa, but also in the the continent. And maybe lastly, Judy, we have a protocol under the AFCFTA that has been specifically for women and youth. And we really are excited about this because we'll have to make sure that the opportunities for women and youth are not overlooked, because sometimes it's easy to have a great trade framework, but no provision for the special groups in this instance. But I think the AFCFTA has started a good initiative to have a protocol that will ensure that women and youth are not left behind. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. That was very comprehensive. Gloria, thank you for that. The other question this is to Kafilat Abimbola. And the question is, from your first international market deal, how have you managed to scale your agribusiness to reach more markets? And what practical advice would you give other women who are looking at venturing into export markets? I know you talked about packaging, but probably you can add something else into that. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity and thanks for the question. Yes, if you want to do anything that has to do with exporting to other countries, there might be one or two mistakes you've made that your first exports will be like your learning period. So I think from the first time we did exports and to where we are now, it's been a roller coaster ride. And sincerely, it's not that we tell you it's all rosy, but we've learned one thing: to get better. And one of the things that our client has known about our product is consistency. So the fact that the feedback we get majorly from all our clients is whatever we've given them 2019, 2018, 2020 is still the same quality we are still giving them up to now. So one of the things I've learned very well in export market is make sure you are consistent with the quality of your product you're giving your clients. It might look unimportant to you, but trust me, the day your client gets to realize that what the other pro versus what they got is not the same thing, it tarnishes your image, and which you cannot get back almost immediately. So you must be very consistent in what you do. And this has helped us a lot because we have range of products. We do spices. At BIMCAF, we do range of spices, both for continental dishes and African local dishes. We also work a lot with coconut. We do the coconut flour, coconut flakes, desiccated coconut. And from what we have had from our clients, the fact that we give them the same type of quality of product at every point in time, and when we want to improve in our packaging, we carry them along. It's really set us apart, sincerely, and it has been a great advantage for us. And Sincerely, no matter how much you want to grow your business, if you are inconsistent with your quality, if you are not consistent with your type of packaging, it's going to affect whatever you're giving your clients. So I'm going to give my candid advice generally to entrepreneurs is that at any point in time you want to venture into export, make sure when your client asks you for sample of your products, for lab test or anything, kindly give them what you know you're going to continue with. Because if they take it to the lab at first instance and they get a very good result, be rest assured, if you give them the bulk, it will still run through some tests before they give it to their consumer. And you can imagine the amount of money they will invest in buying in large quantity from you. By the time you're not consistent, it actually brings distrust in your business. And one client alone is enough to take off all clients from you because your information spreads very fast. And if you're able to keep your clients, give him good quality products, maintain your standard, renew all your licenses that keep you abreast every time. Trust me, the sky is just the beginning point. And the clamor, we're clamoring for African business to be known worldwide. Nothing is going to stop us. Let Africa be known for quality. Let Africa be known for good products. And let us be known. The idea they have, the mindset they have, we need to change the narrative. And so if we're able to change the narrative from now on, it's going to place us where we want to belong globally. They can't do without Africa. Trust me, there's no part of the world that can survive without Africa. But we are the one that we speak for ourselves. And how do we do this speaking? By giving them quality. God has really blessed Africa with enormous raw materials that we can use to drive the world itself. We should wear the gear and move forward and provide ourselves a different name from what they think we are. And the only way we can do it sincerely is by giving them a very good quality product and consistently. Thank you very much.
Wow, I love the passion.
Thank you.
Quality and consistency. We can never go wrong with that. I have really loved that. And I think if you're taking notes, you must have understood by now that this just requires seriousness. You require to be to understand, have the information, like Gloria mentioned. You have to have a vision, just like the Maya products by Sainabu, and you must have it right. You know, like Abimbola has mentioned. You have to have it packaged right, but you also have to be consistent. You cannot give people one time and then the next day you don't have it, or it's different, it tastes different. They will not have it. They want the same thing that they tasted the first time. So consistency, and we have to always have quality. I love what you have said. The world cannot move without Africa. That is very true. So to our last question, but not the least, I'm going to ask Sainabu. Did you encounter any gender-specific barriers in your effort to access regional markets? And please help us understand how you have been able to navigate the complex bureaucracy and regulatory environment for cross-border trade in West Africa. You mentioned a few things about statistics, but logistics, and also some of the challenges cross-border. But then you can also add in case if there's something else new that you think you never mentioned, especially now gender specific. With the yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jody. At this point, I would like to congratulate you for this session. It's very interesting. I was listening to Khalifat and Gloria, and I was like, wow, I'm very privileged to be in this panel today. I love the energy. I love the pertinence of the questions, the effectiveness of everything. So thank you so much. So Gloria said it very nicely. You know, food trade, even in West Africa, is for women. So women have been doing it for my mother's, grandmothers. Even anytime you talk about food trade, women have their places on food trade. So I didn't really face gender-specific barriers when I started, you know, accessing regional markets, because everybody knows that from informal women to us today, women have always been involved in food trade. So after that, maybe contracting with distributors in supermarket level, well, that has been tricky at some point, but not on the gender side. Of course, in those kind of channels, you have more men than women. But again, if you come with something qualitative and in a very professional way, you can access, because the rules are the same for everyone. You need to be compliant. You need to have a good quality. You need to be consistent. And you also need to have a good communication. And for that, what we did was to work with distributors. So at some point, I was based in Mali and I wanted to reach the West African market. It's difficult if you don't have the right partnership in the country. So you need to contract with someone in country who will be your distributor. So in the first place, I used to rely on my own family and friends, asking them to go represent the company in meetings, commercial and business meetings. After that, I decided to contract with real distributors. So we share the same vision, we can monitor the performance, etc., etc. So you really need to start with female networks, family networks first, and then after a couple of years, then you need to increase your professionalism and then contract with real distributors. So it's a work in progress, but you still need to know that at every point on entrepreneurship, you have to rely on your own network for financials, for business information, for everything in Africa. We have this opportunity to use our female networks or family networks or friend networks. So don't hesitate to use it. The other thing maybe that I wanted to share.
In half a second.
Sorry?
In half a minute.
Okay. So one of the opportunities that we have been using today for trade is that we don't want to be everywhere, right? So we are in 3 countries. We know how much it was difficult for us to reach those 3 countries in terms of compliance. Now, instead of just going everywhere, we try to do like outsourcing. So one of our big revenue streams today is outsourcing. So we outsource with companies that have always reached the international markets like Europe, the US and Canada, because they know that they have quality products with us. They can outsource with us in wide brands. I don't know if you say it in English that way. So they commercialize it in their own brand name, but we produce it from them. And it's interesting because it's a new revenue stream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sainabu, for that. You've really conquered barriers to get there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 o'clock, but I'm requesting you to just give us 2 minutes to get closing remarks from Marjorie. I am so happy because everything has been very exciting and we've been able to learn so much. And I've seen the many questions, the many comments applauding the speakers, and I also want to applaud them for a job well done. Congratulations. I have been your moderator, Judy Matu, the National Executive Chairlady for the Association of Women in Agriculture, Kenya. Thank you very much. Over to you, Marjorie.
Thank you very much, Judy, for driving this very insightful and engaging conversation. It was really a pleasure to listen to the wonderful ladies sharing their journeys. And thank you, Judy, for your passion, around women empowerment. And we know your drive in changing the narrative for other women, especially in agriculture. So before I continue, let me request all the panelists to put on their videos so that we can take one group photo. Yes, beautiful. Now we can take the group photo. So thank you very much, our panelists, for joining us and sharing your stories with us. We really appreciate your passion. We could tell from your speeches. So we appreciate you taking your time. And to all the audience who have managed to stay on until now, thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your contributions in the chat. We couldn't really go through all the comments and respond, but we'll definitely take a look and listen to your insights. So this conversation is not ending here. Let's continue it on the value for her network. I'm sure you have heard a lot of people talking about the value for her network. If you are already not a member, please make it a point to join us today, and we will continue the conversations there. I think one of our speakers said you need to be part of these female networks, and Value for Her is one of those female networks that we have. So I know we have exhausted our time, but this is just to say thank you so much for joining us. And the conversations are continuing on the Value for Her network, and we are bringing more of these talk corners to you. So thank you, and until next time.